Hey, what's up, ho, 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 everyone, and welcome back to a Christmas-themed episode of SimplyPodLogical, a Simply Nailogical podcast.
Happy ho-ho holo days.
So today we're talking about Christmas without the H with Cristine with no H. We asked for questions. We've got a bunch of questions about like our childhood memories of Christmas, how we feel about Christmas, best gifts, Christmas cookies, etc.
And other wholesome good stuff.
All wholesome family-friendly fun and non-family-friendly fun with your non-family and family. But before we hop into questions, just are you generally someone who looks forward to Christmas, Cristine? Is it a time of year you're excited about?
I mean, I don't really care. But that's coming as a 32-year-old lady. Like, it's fine. It's nice, I suppose. But it's not something I plan 6 months ahead for and count down the days and cross off my calendar.
Yeah, I find people usually fall into two camps. Either it's something like they're very excited about, or it's like the stress of having to shop for other people and get together with family and all that stuff.
That one, the latter.
You're more in the latter, right? I have very positive memories of Christmas as a child, and I think Christmas is mostly for children. But these days, there's almost something kind of, like I don't want to be hyperbolic, but I always get kind of bummed out around this time of year, not to be a Grinch about it. But there's something about the end of the year. Maybe it's just because it's getting really cold where we live. Maybe the days are very short, so it's like dark at 5 p.m. But there's something about the period right leading up to New Year's where I just start feeling a little bit depressed.
Well, it makes sense because as the year comes to a close, you're forced to look at what you did this year, what you accomplished.
What you didn't do.
And maybe you feel like you didn't do everything that you thought you would do, or especially in 2020, looking back on the year, maybe you don't feel so great about this past year.
It's tough,
so I can
though,
understand why people maybe this year are feeling more down than other years. So
good point. This year will be
Yeah.
tougher than most from that perspective. But I find some people, like, no matter how productive or accomplished you were this year, there's something about this time of year that can kind of be a bit of a drag. So let's try to give people some positivity for the next hour.
Positive Christmas fun without the H, because it's Christmas, not Christmas. Or is it?
Okay.
Well, I'm just saying that's how we pronounce it.
I'm sure there's a question about religion in here somewhere. All right, first question from Vash on Twitter. How did you two celebrate Christmas when you were kids, and how has it changed over the years? What was Christmas like in the Simply fam household growing up?
So we celebrated Christmas, and it was a big deal as kids. My sister and I were always looking forward to, Santa bringing presents and so on. And we had stockings, and we had Christmas Day where we'd open it all and family would come over. So it was like a pretty big event. And it was always at our house because we were the only kids or young kids in the family. There's not other kids really. Well, there was later on, but at least when we were young, it was just me, my sister and I. There wasn't any other cousins of our age or anything. So grandparents would come over to our house and it would be kind of a big deal. And then as I got a bit older and I started working, I think I mentioned in the jobs podcast, like our old jobs, I worked at Shoppers Drug Mart, which is a drugstore here in Canada. And I would choose to work on holidays, including Christmas, which is a holiday where if you choose to work or you volunteer, you get paid time and a half.
Yeah.
So I was always like, I'll take that shift, please.
So you were the teenager that didn't care.
Didn't care, yeah. Okay. So, of course, later, like at some point, or maybe it was earlier in the day, like I would be there at some point, but I didn't feel the need to spend like 24 hours straight with my family celebrating Christmas. Sure. I'd rather go get, time and a half at my job, which was me like working and putting it into my savings. So as I got older, I cared less and just thought, well, I'd rather go to work.
Yeah. And then post-teenage years, as like a young adult, university years, was it more of a, hey, it's a chance to go back home and see family sort of thing?
Right. So I
yeah.
moved away from my family's town when I was 17 to go to university. Mm-hmm. So every major holiday, like Thanksgiving and Christmas, and even I think Easter, I'd kind of make a point to go back home, which is what mostly everyone I went to university with was doing. So everyone used those holidays as like, okay, I guess it's time to go home and see my family.
I have to see my family.
And exams had finished, so people usually went home for Christmas. So there was Christmas at that time, and it was nice to see family after maybe like a few months of not seeing family.
Yeah. So for me, like today, Christmas is a very sort of like corporate commercial event where I'm just like looking to see if there's things on sale that I want. And you think buying things will make you happy, and then you realize it's just more stuff, and stuff actually doesn't make you that happy. But when I was a child, I really
Stuff.
I loved stuff.
No, you love toys. What kind of video games did you get, Ben?
So it's not just stuff, though. Like, my fondest memories of Christmas growing up are of, that cold weather and going, like, skating on the local hockey rink in my community.
How Canadian.
Or going skating on the canal in Ottawa. I grew up in Ottawa. And coming back from the cold into a warm house and sitting by the fire and eating cookies. And then, at the end of the day, you're looking forward to that day you open a bunch of cool shit.
Yeah.
So, I have really fond memories of Christmas as a kid. And today, I don't think it really means much to me at all, to be honest.
I think today, like, both Ben and I, for a few years now, we don't really care. It's just kind of like maybe my family usually would do some things. So normally we would travel to the Toronto area to see them. This year we are not because of ongoing coronavirus events. But normally we would be doing that,
Yeah. All right, next question from Malevolent Raven. Do you view Christmas as a Christian tradition that many people take part in, or do you think that it's now separate from Christianity?
Growing up, I never viewed it as a Christian tradition because I was raised in a non-religious household. And I think I've mentioned this before, and part of the reason why there is no H in my name, Cristine, is because I guess my parents really liked the name Cristine, but they didn't want to name me after the literal daughter of Christ. Christine is the daughter of Christ, I guess, according to Christianity. So they just took the H out. And their problem solved.
Yeah, so actually, my answer is kind of different. First of all, to answer the question more directly, I think it's pretty obvious a lot of people celebrate Christmas with no sort of religious connotation. And that seems to upset some people who very much want it to just be a Christian holiday or event. I would say, though, that like the celebration of the winter solstice is something that predates Christianity. So in a way, Christians just sort of co-opted this time of year as a celebration of the birth of their Savior, even though celebrations of the winter solstice around this time of year and putting up a Christmas tree and things like that aren't just specific to Christianity, right?
Right.
And I'm for the separation of church and state and yada, yada, yada. War on Christmas stuff is kind of goofy to me. I did grow up in a religious household, though. My mom grew up in a very religious household, so she made us go to church growing up, and not just on the major holidays. Like, I would go to church, I don't want to say every weekend, because I don't think anyone really does that. But we went to church a lot, and I think it was only when we became teenagers that my parents sort of gave us the choice of whether we wanted to continue going and being religious as our own people.
So you didn't have a choice when you were a kid?
Well, I mean, you don't really have a choice of much when you're a kid, right? And that's always a tricky debate when it comes to religion, because you can say parents are like indoctrinating their kids into something, and I kind of agree with that to some degree.
What did you actually do when you went to church as a kid? Like, what do you remember was part of it?
I just remember being really bored more than anything.
But was it like Christmas-specific prayers or?
No, so you'd go to like a Sunday service and people would sing songs and hymns, and you'd eat crackers and pretend it's a dead guy. I'm being a little flippant about this, but like if you just take a step back and objectively evaluate what's going on, it is a little goofy. But yeah, I'll say this, like I used to be super judgmental, and like some of my earliest memories of watching YouTube videos was watching like atheist YouTube content.
Really?
And like highlights of Christopher Hitchens and people like that. And it was sort of a way for me sort of rebelling against that history, right? And I still very much believe and agree with those sort of atheist arguments in a lot of ways. But at the same time, if someone gets something from religion, and especially like a sense of community, like our culture now is one in which people barely know their neighbors a lot of the time. There's very little sense of community. And the one positive thing I will say about church or going to church is you can get a real sense of community with your neighbors and the people who live around you that way. And that's sort of absent from a more atheistic or secular society. Although you could argue that you just develop a community with like-minded people around interests you may have in common with other people rather than going to church, right? But so we stopped going to church when I was a teenager. And that was partly, I wonder if maybe I don't want to get this heavy, but one of the reasons is I think my mom herself was having sort of questions about her faith because she learned that in the town she grew up in, one of the priests was assaulting a lot of the boys she grew up with. And I think that would cause anyone to sort of evaluate whether or not they want to support the institutions that defended and covered that up, right? And I think any religious people need to sort of grapple with that fact. Anyway, that got heavier than I probably wanted to. Anyway, I'm not a religious person, but I did sort of grow up in that religious context. So there was, going to Christmas Mass.
So it's interesting your comment about it serving as a sense of community for people. Because I've heard that too. Well, like religion is great because people have communities they can go join a part of, as if to suggest that people who don't practice that like don't have any friends or social groups.
Yeah.
So I grew up not religious at all. My parents, I guess when they grew up, were assigned a religion. Like their parents kind of suggested, like my mother's side was Anglican, but not practicing. And my father's side was Jewish, but not practicing. Gotcha. So when they grew up, I guess they were part of the first generation to abandon those ideas, which was weird at their age when they were in their 20s or 30s or whatever, right? They were kind of an outlier to do that and then choose to raise their kids without any religion at all. So I had zero idea, like I have no idea what Christmas Mass is. I hear about it. Like I know that it's a thing and people do it and there are people in my school who would do that as well. But I still had so many friends who didn't partake in any religion either. And we still celebrated Christmas and there was tons of, friend groups and nothing was really that big of a deal made out of it, or it wasn't that heavily attached to religion. Like I have no memory. That's why I find it hard to like imagine, well, what did you actually do in church? Like I've never gone to church or synagogue unless it was a funeral, a wedding, or someone's like bat mitzvah or communion, or basically an event that was for someone else.
Gotcha.
Like I've never gone to a religious event for any reason because of my family, like to go for a holiday or to, I don't know. Like I'm blanking because I'm like, why else do people go to church? It's very weird to me. But I also didn't grow up thinking that it was weird to be religious either. Like I guess my parents taught me like people can be whatever they want and you can do whatever you want too. I was never told like you need to not believe in religion. Like I could do whatever I wanted. They just didn't have any particular religion that they wanted to raise me in.
And I think that's a super healthy attitude to have about it. And if someone comes to accept a religion into their life at a later age and not just because their parents sort of arbitrarily said this is the religion you should subscribe to, I can have a lot of respect for that. At the end of the day, like, maybe I was a kind of angsty teen young adult who like was really into these sort of like atheistic arguments and movements. And I think I've sort of softened my position these days to just like, if people can believe whatever they want as long as they don't force those views on others. I guess the scary thing is that there's a long history of like barbarism and intolerance from very religious people that I think we have to be mindful of. And it's important to be able to critique a religion. Like when we were growing up, the idea of like talking about religion openly at the dinner table was kind of seen as like taboo, like, oh, don't bring up politics or religion at the dinner table if you were having a dinner party, right? I think things have changed pretty significantly, and I think it's important that we are able to criticize things and things aren't off limits in that way. But generally just being a decent person and accepting and respectful of other people's beliefs is kind of where I land now, as long as you're not being tolerant of other people's intolerance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think some followers over the years have asked me, like, are you religious? Because they almost hope that I am of their religion, I think is usually where it's coming from. And so I felt weird, although I have admitted like as if it's bad. But again, like that's just the social norms being like kind of pushed upon me that I feel. I have said before that, yeah, I'm not religious. And I get mixed reactions to that. I get people being like, oh, yeah, makes sense. You're a data analyst. You live in Canada. People care less there or whatever. But then I also see other people almost like hurt or disappointed that I'm not of their religion. And I'm always so confused because I'm never disappointed when I find out that or learn that someone is of any particular religion. I'm like, you do you do whatever, makes you happy, what you like to do, and maybe that you were raised in.
Yeah, and you can be an example to people that you can be a moral, decent person.
I don't know. Am I going to hell? I've been
believe in a
told I'm
higher
going to hell
power.
though, Ben. I need Jesus to save me. I've seen that in my comments.
Oh, just Jesus specifically?
Just Jesus.
It's not one of the other 1,000
So
gods in humanist?
that's
Okay.
our history. Neither of us at this today are religious, right? So we do not celebrate Christmas as a part of a religious activity.
No.
Yeah.
Good buttoning that one up. All right, next question from Simply's Little Sock. What was your favorite Christmas candy when you were a kid, and would you check what presents you got before the day you were supposed to open them?
Can I answer the last question first?
Sure.
Yes.
Would you sneak into your...
So we would always open one present on Christmas Eve, just one.
We had the same
and
rule,
we had to
yeah.
pick. So you had to be like strategic. If you pick like the big one or the little one, or what you thought you didn't know, just so you could find out more information. So we would pick one, and then other times I'd probably try and sneak if my parents had like bins of something just like sitting in the laundry room, and I'd be like, "What's in there?"
Yeah, later on I found out where my parents or where my mom would hide the
Where
gifts.
in the attic?
Yes, it was like above in some closet somewhere. For me, when I think of Christmas, I don't think of Christmas candy as much as I think of Christmas cookies.
Oh yes.
Though I
Ben.
will add that there was always a Terry's chocolate orange in my stocking every year. That was a staple. But I think of cookies way more than candy. So my mom
what
was
kind
a
of
good baker.
cookies?
Just like classic chocolate chip cookies.
Make
that
us
she would
hungry.
dunk in milk.
Describe the cookies, Ben.
My mom would make these things she called them like snowballs. So they're basically like just a round shortbread cookie, but you would roll it in icing sugar after.
Oh.
And inside some of them, she would put like an M&M, but sometimes they didn't. So it was kind of like a surprise whether there was an M&M in the middle of your cookie or not. So I think like that, yeah, that's what I have warm memories of. Mm-hmm. Did you have Christmas cookies or candy in your house?
I liked candy canes and white chocolate peppermint bark, like mint kind of. I guess anything like mint. I really like mint.
You're into the chocolate
mint
mint,
and chocolate. It's my favorite thing. Yeah.
Yeah, we eat pretty healthy these days, but like once
Except
a year.
for last night.
Like once a year, I'll get out the stand mixer and make a bunch of Christmas cookies.
So
basically.
Ben went crazy. He went to Crazy Santa Town yesterday, and he made Flavortown. He went to He made 4 different batches of cookies. Why don't you tell us what?
Well,
they
if you're
are?
gonna get everything out and start making cookies, you might as well. You
might
can't
as
just
well
make one
84
kind.
cookies and then eat them all.
100 layers of cookies.
Oh my god,
Yeah, so I made chocolate chip oatmeal cookies.
those are my favorite.
Made
Because
like
oats.
soft gingerbread type cookies,
Those are really
the round
good,
like
too.
ginger snaps, I guess you call them. I made like this red velvet cookie recipe with white chocolate chips, except I didn't put food dye in it, so it just looks
So they were brown velvet.
brown velvet, let's say. And then the last one was corn cookies.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you posted a picture of this, and you were getting a bunch of comments from
Yes.
people being very confused about
All
the
the
idea
comments
of corn
were saying
cookies.
like, "Is corn cookies a Canadian thing? I've never heard of it." And someone said like, "I live in Iowa, the capital of corn, and we don't have corn cookies. What the hell is this?" Explain, Ben.
Well, I got the recipe from Milk Bar. So the
is?
same people who did the compost cookies that I made on your channel like a year ago.
So
came up-
Milk Bar is what?
It's a dessert shop. It was like the dessert arm of the Momofuku chain of restaurants in the States. It's
In New
Davis
York?
Chang. So there's a couple Milk Bar locations in New York. I guess that's where they started. You'll see that chef, Tosi, on like MasterChef and things like that. She's a pretty big celebrity chef now.
So it's a public recipe, the corn cookies?
Yeah, you can find this. Here, I'll link all the recipes down below. So the corn cookie is a Milk Bar recipe. All the others I found on this one blog that I kind of have used in the past. I think Sally's Baking Addiction or something like that. But the corn cookie is really interesting because you use a mix of regular flour and corn flour, and then you also add in ground up freeze dried corn. So basically, it tastes
So it's like vegetables.
it almost tastes like a sweet shortbread cookie, but then has like a very powerful corn taste to it as well.
It's very salty too.
It's very salty. It's a really interesting flavor. It's totally different, and I guess you don't see it
like
often.
it. Now I'm like hungry again. See what you did?
Yeah, no, I'd encourage people to make them. The only issue is that you need to find freeze-dried corn, and that's not something
Is that hard to find?
Well, like you can order a giant tin of it from Bezos on Amazon, but
From Bezos.
directly from. But yeah, that's not a recipe. That's not an ingredient you're necessarily going to find in your local grocery store.
Yeah.
But yeah, cookies. You'll enjoy my. You got to rank the 4 cookies I made from best to worst. How about that?
Okay. Oatmeal chocolate chip.
Of course, the oats, right?
Oats trump all. The gingerbread ones, although they could have been a little more gingery, a little more snappy.
A little spicier. You like them spicy, yeah.
But they're really good. I love like the soft gingerbread cookies. Then I want to say the corn cookies. Like they're so weird, but I kind of like them.
Yeah, they're good for breakfast.
And then the red velvet, not because they're bad, but just because I've had it before and it's more common.
I see.
Yeah.
All right.
All amazing. And they all need to get out of this house.
Yeah, I've made way too many.
Yeah.
Next question from SimplyPodLogical. What's the favorite Christmas gift you have ever received or given? Does something usually immediately comes to mind for people, I think. For me, I got like a Nintendo 64.
Yeah.
When I was probably like 11 years old or something like that, whenever it came out in the late 90s. And then I guess I got Donkey Kong 64 for 1 year. And one Christmas, I'm pretty sure I just spent like days straight just playing Donkey Kong 64.
We totally did that too. When we get like a new toy,
Yeah.
you wouldn't see us for the rest of the day, my
right.
sister and I.
Yeah.
I think like the Barbie Dream House, I remember being so... Do you know what that is?
It's a dollhouse for Barbie, right?
Yeah, but it has like 2 stories with an elevator.
Oh,
it's
look
super
at you.
fancy. So it was
Bougie.
gifted to, yeah, like a bougie house to me and my sister, and we had to share. Yeah, so that's
how did
tough.
that go?
Well, not that well. No, we would play together. Like I would, say I'm going to have my Barbie on the top floor and hers can live on the bottom or something.
Did you find you got a lot of gendered gifts, like Barbie Dream
So,
House?
good point. Just because I said Barbie Dream House, you would assume that all of my gifts were like for girls. However, I will say that my parents made a pretty good point of trying to give me stuff that wasn't just like that. Like I got a race car, like not the Barbie race car, which I did get separately another year, but I also got like a race car, like a boys race car at the time.
Like one you could sit in, or one
yeah,
that you
you could sit in, and it had like a very small motor in it that you went like.
But little Simply's like driving around in a little race car.
Yeah, like something you drive on your driveway
That's
as like
adorable.
a 6-year-old. But I got the boys race car version, and I remember getting like a tracksuit from a relative, I think,
Sure.
and it was like for boys because they didn't make ones that were that cool with like the cool stripes that weren't like pink and ugly for young girls. So they got me the boys one just in like the smallest size that would fit me. So I was wearing like a boys tracksuit to drive in my like technically boys race car.
Yeah, that's your dad super into cars, and I guess you were too as a kid, right?
I definitely was. And I went through a phase of hating pink, I remember. So one Christmas I was like, I don't want anything pink. Just to reject, I guess, the fact that, girls are always given pink things.
Can you tell, this is a complete tangent, could you tell the story about mowing the lawn with your dad?
Oh my God. This has nothing to do with Christmas. This was in the summer. I so clearly remember when I was like 6 or 7. I actually have no idea how old I was, but definitely young enough that it was before puberty. Okay. I know that for sure. And I was wearing like swimming shorts and like baggy swimming shorts and a t-shirt. And my dad was outside with his wheelbarrow shoveling the yard for whatever reason, and I was helping him shoveling. Okay. He took his shirt off because he's hot. It's the middle of the summer. Yeah. And then I was gonna take my shirt off, and he said, "Don't do that." And I said, "Why? How come you get to take your shirt off? I'm hot. I want to take my shirt
totally.
off." And I don't remember him explaining why. Like, I think he was just like, no, Cristine.
Oh, well, I thought you actually did, and you were just walking around the yard with your shirt off.
I can't remember.
Did that not happen?
No, I just remember being confused and thinking, like, what's the big deal?
Anyway, I'm just trying another example of simply rejecting gender norms at a young age. Because, kids only know this because they are taught this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that was a tangent. But so little Cristine's receiving, Barbie 1 year.
I got both.
Race cars.
Honestly, I got both, and I think that was like smart on behalf of my parents. Like, give me both. I'll play with whatever.
Or just whatever your kid
whatever
likes,
I wanted,
right?
whatever I asked for Christmas.
Yeah. All right. Next question from Hollow Socks and Cats. What did both of you get each other this year? Absolutely nothing.
Yeah. Is that like, some people feel like that's sad, but personally, I feel a big sense of relief. Yeah. Because Ben and I both agreed this year, and I think we've done this in the past. We've told each other, like, just no gifts. You know, it's just stressful. We give each other enough over the course of the year, whether it's just like buying a random thing for whatever reason, that we just decided we don't need to. Because again, like as adults, I don't really see Christmas as this really meaningful moment where I'm expecting a gift from you or people that I care about. Like, I don't.
I think early on in our relationship, gift giving is an important opportunity to really express that you listen to your partner and get them a gift they may really enjoy, but they wouldn't think to get themselves or something like that. That is a really effective gift in my mind. After being in a relationship for so long. 8 years, which, you know, I guess is a long time to some people and not a long time to others, because there's probably people who've been together for like 40 years and still get each other gifts. But I just, from our perspective, we're very fortunate. We often just kind of out of the blue maybe do something nice for each other, or I might buy something for you just because I see it. And I just feel like that's sort of our gift giving approach, as opposed to just saying, I need to get my partner something for Christmas.
Yeah. So we're not really celebrating Christmas. Is it Christmas if there's no gifts? Yeah, right? Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, you could still do that. Like, we're going to do a Christmas dinner. We've ordered our Christmas dinner for Christmas Eve.
Just for ourselves.
Just for ourselves. Yeah. No one's cooking. But we are ordering it.
We're trying to support
local restaurants.
Yeah.
Actually, that's something we've been doing almost every weekend since coronavirus happened.
Very well.
Yeah, we'll buy each other dinner, but we'll do it from a local takeout restaurant in Ottawa to help support takeout. Yeah.
All right. Next question from Dad Logical. Do you remember the first Christmas you spent with Ben? And then a funny follow-up, did Ben get Zyler a gift for the first Xmas they were together?
Your son-in-law.
I mean, Zyler.
Your adopted son.
Zyler doesn't know it's Christmas. He's a cat.
Bah humbug.
We spoil the cats all the time. Like, we don't do something specifically for Christmas.
There's literally a hollowed out cat bed under the table right now.
I don't think anyone's sitting in it.
Oh, I see a Menchie. There's a Menchie approaching.
Someone just walked in. Maybe she'll settle down. But the first Christmas we started dating shortly before Christmas that first year. And you would have just gone to Florida. Yeah. Obviously, I wasn't going to come with you. We'd been dating for like a month or two, right? But I vividly remember that because we were sort of talking all the time on the phone with each other. And I remember talking to you while you were in Florida.
Yeah, my family would go to Florida sometimes for Christmas.
Yeah. So I guess the next year, I think we did the whole, like, my family is in Australia, so we weren't going to fly out there. But we definitely went to Toronto, I think, or the GTA.
The following Christmas.
And I would have met your family around Christmas if I hadn't met them already. But we definitely did a Christmas thing with your side of the family in Toronto that first year we were really together, I think.
So what do you remember of it? Scary?
Yeah, it's an intimidating thing to be around a bunch of your relatively new partner's family. And I guess
we've been dating for over a year at that point.
That's true. We've been dating for almost exactly a year. And yeah, I guess I was really nervous about it. And it almost threw me off that, like,
no one else cared.
People have met your dad on the channel, right? So they know he's a very gregarious, outgoing kind of guy's guy. Like, there's nothing, he's not an intimidating guy. I think I was expecting to have that sort of, like, interaction with, like, Dad, are you good enough to date my daughter sort of thing? And that's just, like, kind of not at all what it was. And that threw me off so much. I'm pretty sure I came off like kind of a crazy person just because I was so thrown for a loop. I don't think I made the best first impression with your family, to be honest.
Well, you're just a lot more reserved, I think, in principle, and, like, careful with what you say and thinking about your first impression.
Especially back then.
Yeah, then I think my family was, like, thinking, they're just like, oh, nice to meet you. Oh, pass the soup. Like, whatever. Like, it's just really not a big deal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's my memories of our first Christmas. What do you think? Do you have anything to add?
Well, other than that, I guess we didn't really do our own Christmas just with each other because that didn't make sense at the time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for the first few years, we just went to my side of the family because your family's always in Australia.
It's only very
Yeah.
recently that we ever did a Christmas that was just the two of us alone,
Well, was that 2 years ago?
I think when we moved here, whenever
When
that was, yeah, would have been our first
Yeah.
Christmas where we didn't go back to the GTA and we just did it. Or no, actually, yeah,
Well,
actually, I think that happened. And then we did the Banff
We went
Christmas
to Banff
with Rob and Corinne, yeah.
with Fred Banger, yeah. So
Yeah,
we
we did.
spent Christmas with
Christmas with the Threadbangers.
our other types of family, yeah.
That was a lot of fun. That's one of my favorite Christmas memories too.
Yeah. Well, I've never gone on such an extravagant trip before for Christmas. That was the first time I've ever done that. So.
That was a pretty amazing. I really wanted to go back to Banff this year, and we were kind of planning on it.
in the summer.
Yeah, we were going to do it in the warmer months because the experience of Banff and Lake Louise and stuff in the cold months is completely different than like the sort of hiking and things you can do when it's warm out.
Yeah.
But 2020 happened, right? So
That's sad.
too bad. Maybe next year. All right, next question from Valerie. It's more for Ben, but how was it to celebrate Christmas in Australia versus Canada? What are the similarities and the differences?
Do they dress up kangaroos there, like
dress up.
reindeers?
Kangaroos like a wild animal. The biggest thing is obviously the weather, right? Because in the southern
it's
hemisphere,
not a white Christmas.
actually, I've got something funny to say about this. So the hemisphere, it's flipped. So their winter it's their summer. It's the hottest time of the year
Right
from
now.
December to February.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's when they tend to have pretty awful like forest fires and stuff. It's been a really big issue in Australia lately. So yeah, obviously the biggest difference is just how hot it is. I went and visited my parents in Australia for a Christmas while I was in university. And we flew into Sydney on like, I think it must have been like the week before Christmas. And randomly out of nowhere, it snowed. And this is in the middle of their summer. So seasons in Australia are a little bit different. They're a little less regular. So like random shit like that can happen. But that was super unusual and felt kind of special that like fly randomly to Australia for Christmas and we actually got snow in Sydney. It was pretty wild. In terms of the differences in how it's celebrated, I don't think I have enough of an appreciation to give a detailed answer. Some Australians in the comments
Well,
could
how
maybe
many
add.
years did you spend in Australia growing up, though?
So I
context.
guess for like when I was 9 and 10 years old, for those 2 years, I would have been in Australia. And I think we still celebrate in our household, but that may have just been us bringing the more Canadian tradition over there. And then when I went back on a vacation, we were older, so it was less about Christmas and more about like just a vacation and spending time with family. I would say for me, the biggest difference between Australia and Canada and celebrating holidays, Christmas isn't the one I think of. I think of Halloween. Because when I lived there as a 9 and 10-year-old, Halloween was still a very important thing. And they don't really celebrate Halloween in Australia.
Interesting.
Or
Why
at
is
least
that?
they didn't 10 years ago. I don't know. Maybe someone below can sort of answer that question. But I remember like trick-or-treating was not something that was widely done when I was a kid living in Australia. So it was super disappointing. And like as the kid of Canadians, I think we sort of got together with like other families through like the Canadian embassy and sort of did like our own little
Why
candy
is there no
exchange.
Halloween? I've
mean,
heard
it's a
that
pretty
before,
weird
but
holiday,
I
right?
didn't realize that.
Yeah, not every country celebrates Halloween the same way we do in North America.
I didn't know it was like a country thing.
I
Like
guess
by
it
country.
makes sense, right?
Certainly not a religious thing, but I guess it's a cultural country thing.
All the Wiccans are going to come for you now.
Well, I mean, sorry, you know what I mean. The activity of going door to door for candy is what I mean.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
Thanks, Ben.
Next question from Karmshire. What American tradition do you as a Canadian feel is odd or strange? I'm not sure if this is a Christmas tradition.
Hot dog eating competitions? I don't know.
Christmas hot dog eating competition. Fried butter at the Iowa State Fair. I'm not sure if it's a Christmas thing, but when we see clips of
Pushing people in Walmart.
exactly,
Is that what you're going to say?
I was about to say Black Friday shopping.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was different this year, although it kind of seemed like people were still.
I saw a clip this morning of people brawling at a Walmart. That was the
Yeah.
headline.
That's really depressing. But
Yeah.
this idea, like, I'm not someone super concerned about the commercialization of Christmas. Like, I'm not thinking that's some terrible thing. I guess. But the idea of people like lining up and those poor workers at those stores having to put up with that bullshit. And it's just a reflection of kind of an issue in society that people are trampling over each other to buy like a $500 television that's on sale. Like,
and that's not to say that that never happens in Canada. I'm sure I've heard of it
Sure.
like once or twice, like Best Buy opens in, you know, downtown Toronto at 7 a.m. and then people are fighting to get in. That's probably happened too. I just don't remember it happening like growing up to the extent that you would see it all over the news in America.
yeah, the US always seems to have more of the extremes. It's not that those things don't happen other places, but everything's sort of bigger and better, or
Yeah.
better and worse at the extremes in the US in a lot
or
of
there's
ways.
just more of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways,
So that's odd to us. Don't fight each other for things at the store.
next question from Dad Logical. Ben, do you have a favorite item to bake, cook during the holidays?
Cookies.
I think we already sort of covered the cookie history. Maybe I'll post those recipes in the video description box, and maybe Cristine will take some cookies. Maybe we'll just have like, we should just upload some. Well, on Snapchat, we'll just eat cookies. How about that?
We'll just eat cookies on the great
That's all.
Ben.
All right, from Cancel and Gretel.
That's a hilarious name. Oh my god.
What's your favorite Christmas film? Also, do you think Die Hard is a Christmas movie?
I've seen that question and how it's a big debate.
There's no debate. Die Hard is a Christmas
Okay,
movie,
whatever.
in fact.
I know it's a big thing. I guess like my position is I don't care. Do you watch it on Christmas? Then I guess maybe it's a Christmas movie.
I'm having trouble thinking of this question because all I can think about is the fact that we watched Tenet last night, and my mind is still in a pretzel.
Or is your mind going in reverse?
It's not a Christmas movie, but if I
Maybe
can
it
go on
could
a
be.
tangent for a second, I really liked it. I think there are some movies you walk out of, and the more you think about them, the kind of less excited you are about them. And it's the opposite of that. Like, as soon as I was done, I kind of wanted to watch it again and think about it. And I think it was, even though I probably didn't really follow the last third of it, and some things weren't really adding up to me,
You want
I have a
figure it
feeling
out.
I could watch it over and over again and catch things that
So
make
you
a lot
could
of
watch
sense.
it on Christmas and make it a Christmas
Should just
movie.
watch it every week. It's a very creative, inventive movie. I know people are kind of weird about Chris Nolan these days because he kind of made a big deal out of like, he really wanted to release this movie even though we were in the middle of a public health crisis. So I think people are kind of have a negative perception of him now. But I think he's one of the best filmmakers out there right now, and I really enjoyed Tenet.
It wasn't filmed during all this though, right? Like it
No,
had
but
already been done.
he made a
filming.
big deal out of insisting that it get a theatrical release, which rubbed a lot of people the wrong way.
Did it?
It did briefly. They kept delaying it. It definitely did in Europe and Canada for a while when they had reopened movie theaters. But I guess he was making an argument that, like, you know, he really cares about experiencing it in a giant theater on IMAX with certain sound quality. And he's a bit of a weirdo when it comes to those things. But I think he's an incredible filmmaker, even if he seems like a bit of a strange dude.
We just bought it on iTunes for like $25.
I'm liking this trend of being able to buy
Yeah, I
films
agree.
at home. If you have like a decently big TV and okay speakers, and you can kind of get a bit of that experience at
I
home.
mean, you can just watch it on your computer.
Or you could just sit really up close so the screen looks really big. And okay, I'm way too much of a tangent. Christmas movies, Christine. Do you have any favorite Christmas? Do you like Christmas movies?
I don't like. I remember watching them growing up, especially that one with the snowman, the claymation. What was that?
Oh, the Rudolph,
abominable snowman.
Yeah, there was. Is this a Canadian thing? I'm not sure.
Is it not French?
I don't think
I
it was.
swear
in
part of
French.
it was French.
Anyway,
maybe
I
we
think
watched the French version.
Canadian kids who grew up around the same time as us will know exactly what we're talking about, because every Christmas on TV would be this claymation or a stop motion like felt story of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer saving Christmas, the abominable snowman,
Was the
big
bad guy,
monster.
yeah.
Really cool and creative kind of stuff that I don't think
Yeah.
you really see today. That's a really good answer. I love
Yeah,
that.
we watched that, but other than that, like, I don't have any more modern Christmas movies that I'm like, I have to watch this. It's December 25th.
I'm not sure if it's exactly a Christmas movie, but I remember the Home Alone movies being very important to me as a kid. And they were part of like this weirder trend or genre of movies where you'd have like kids like beating up adults or like
Yeah.
outsmarting like criminal adults.
Well, wasn't that the dream as a kid in the, late 90s to just like think of how you can overtake your parents?
I guess I
I
don't
guess
think,
so. It was like a weird fantasy
but
at the
isn't that
time.
weird? Like, yeah, it's like such an outlet fantasy of like kids beating the shit out of criminals.
You don't see that today.
Yeah, in 2020, you're not really seeing movies like
Yeah.
that.
That's
But,
a weird time.
Yeah, I guess those are Christmas movies. They take place over Christmas, trying to get the
Yeah.
family together for Christmas. Yeah. So Home Alone and Rudolph. Next question from Phoebe Dominique. What's your favorite holiday tea flavor, Christine? Nice tea mug, by the way.
Do you like my mug? It has a reindeer on it.
Is that color changing?
Yeah, actually it is. I drink holiday type teas all throughout the year, kind of, because I really like the sweet, decadent type teas. Like I love maple oolong or a candy cane or a mint chocolate tea. I'm always mint chocolate. And I think those people would argue are very holiday festive teas, like anything with mint or like those after eight dessert treats and peppermint candy cane, hot chocolate type stuff. So that kind of flavor profile is what I enjoy for teas at any time of year, actually. So it doesn't even matter that it's holiday. Nothing's changing, but I really like mint teas, chocolate teas, maple teas. That's the Canadian in me. And what else?
No,
I
that's the
think
good
that's
answer.
it.
You don't
Yeah.
have to list every tea.
But I love all the teas, Ben.
All right, next thing from Instagram123. Some people think that telling your family that you prefer to receive money as a gift is considered rude or greedy. But in my opinion, I'd rather receive money that I can use to buy things I want, need, instead of possibly receiving something that I don't need, already have, or might not even use. I think money is a gift of opportunity and choice instead of just cold, hard cash. What's your opinion on that?
This is interesting because growing up as a kid, I definitely was of the position of, I don't want this cardigan, Grandma. Can you give me the $60 instead?
Yeah.
Because I can put it to much better use. And as a child, I was very prudent in savings. Like I was already working when I was 15, which was the earliest age I could legally work. And I started putting things in savings. So once I got to that age and realized that if you asked for money and got that instead of a gift you were never going to use, you could put it into your savings, and that was the more logical thing to do, at least in my eyes, I started to ask for money. Now, I did get blowback from parents or relatives who were like, I'm not giving you money. Just tell me what presents you want. And I tried to explain to them, like, well, maybe I don't want a present, or there's nothing in particular that I can think of to tell you. And I want to save it, or like for my birthday, I would rather just, the $20 instead of whatever you were going to buy me. So I totally get this from a practical point of view, that buying gifts just for the sake of buying gifts because there's a holiday, if there's nothing that you can say that like you want that you would use, it seems like a waste.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. It sounds like you could have written this question yourself.
Maybe the Instagram
Maybe that's
is
you.
me.
It's your burner. I had the exact same experience. At a certain point as a teenager, I started just asking for money.
I think most teenagers kind of
think it's a very
move in
common
that
thing.
direction.
I think there is.
It's what you use it for, though, that money. That is different.
So
like, I was using it for savings. What were you using your
does
money
that
for?
matter? Actually, so here's a good point, actually. Yeah, that starting to give your kid money for which they can decide whether or not to be responsible with is kind of an important lesson at a certain point, right? So as a teenager, I think there is definitely an argument to be made that this kind of makes sense. But like I've already sort of said, like I think the best gifts are gifts that people would really love and enjoy, but they wouldn't necessarily buy themselves, right? And so that's never going to happen if you're just cutting someone a check. But that's also kind of like a privileged position to be in. Like, it must be incredibly frustrating if you're someone and money is very tight and your rich grandma is getting you a sweater you're never going to wear when you could really just use like the $100 she spent on that cashmere
and if
sweater.
you tell
or
her
something.
that, then the grandma in this hypothetical story gets insulted because she's like, you don't like my gifts? I don't want to just give you money. And I kind of think maybe that's an old school thing. And I think that's faded a lot more recently, because I think young people are increasingly just smarter about knowing what to do with their money because there's just more information available to them about like bank accounts and finances and investment. Like there's just more information available to them.
Do kids even use money these days, or is it all Bitcoin?
Bitcoin, PayPal, whatever. Well, whatever, however your account or how the funds are kept. I think kids understand the value of money more, even if their parents weren't the ones to directly teach it to them, because they're learning it, on Google, on TikTok.
But like at the same time, I don't like the idea of Christmas would be pretty lame and cold if it was just people exchanging cash,
Yeah,
like, the only thing like, under the tree.
What is this like money exchange?
Yeah.
Like, what? Yeah.
Yeah, no, it kind of defeats the purpose to some degree too, I think. All right, next question from A Heart Made Full Metal. When did the Santa bomb drop for you and your siblings? Were you shocked it was your parents? Yada, yada. I want to sort of dance around this question just because I don't think anyone listening to this is a concern, but I hate the idea of some like 6-year-old accidentally clicking on this video and learning something and it sort of ruining Christmas. Am I being overly sensitive here, Cristine?
I think Ben is overly sensitive, but I'll tell you my experience growing up. I remember being very young and insistent that, something sneaky was going on downstairs.
Something's not making sense.
And I was young. My sister, who is 3 years younger than me, she didn't believe me. And so to prove it to her, late one night or early morning of Christmas Day, I woke her up and brought her to the top of the stairs and showed her that my parents were putting presents under the tree and, explained, therefore, it can't be possible that insert the story that we are all told here.
Yes,
so maybe I'm just no fun. I don't know. But I really didn't appreciate being lied to. And when I confronted my parents and insisted, like, they must be lying, they were like, no. And I was like, don't lie to me. And they did the same thing with the tooth fairy. And I understand that, parents just try to do these things for kids because it's fun and lighthearted and gives them something fun to believe. But I just, as a kid, I guess was a smart ass and I didn't appreciate the lie and all I wanted was the truth. So I also don't think there's anything wrong with curious kids who just want the truth. So if they're asking for it, then I think you should be honest with those kids.
I hear you. I think we mostly agree. I just feel like there's some room for,
fun. I'm no fun.
The world is a harsh place. Well, we're all going to learn that as we get older.
So you're going to lie to me? So you want to lie?
Let your young children sort of enjoy the fantasy of something.
Unless they challenge it and they don't want to be lied to, then I think you should be honest with them.
Actually, that's a really good point. So my experience was it didn't occur to me until a little bit later, and I was maybe a little bit older than most people.
How old were you?
Not super old, but maybe like...
Were you 15 then?
Last year. No, but because I had one of my mom, kept coming up with explanations as to why it was plausible in a way that wasn't healthy either. It just sort of delayed, I naturally was skeptical of the possibility of like how this doesn't make any sense, how everyone's getting gifts from the sky. And
logistically, operationally speaking.
and my mom just kept coming up with explanations that were like based in like some realism or like scientific, and like she kept like pushing it because she didn't want me to not believe.
Why?
Almost like to an unhealthy degree. You know what I mean?
So you were just left really confused.
Yeah, it was a little strange. All right, next question. What do you guys think is the most overrated or underrated part of the holiday season?
I think it's overrated that there's all these holiday dinners and there's just so many of them. This year is different, obviously, but just like in a normal context, the number of holiday events, whether it's work, it's your friends, it's your family friends, it's your family and then your other side of your family and all these things. There's so many holiday dinners. It's personally, a lot. I can't handle all that stimulation. I don't think it's the best for my mental health to go to like 8 holiday dinners like that and making small talk. It doesn't suit my personality type. However, I understand that all those people, some of them really do like to get together with, loved ones or friends or colleagues, and it's fun for them. It's just like, it's fun for me sometimes, but not 8 times in 2
Too much.
weeks.
I think it's especially tough if you are from like if your parents split up at a certain age too, and all of a sudden you have like two things. Like I know people joke about like, oh, two sets of gifts, but I actually think it's a pretty stressful thing to have to negotiate going between two family units or groups and doing everything twice and
For
things
sure.
like that.
I had tons of friends growing up whose parents were divorced when they were young, right? Which made it very hard on the kids to have to go back and forth and have 2 family dinners of this. And then, one side of the family is talking shit about the other. And that's not fair to the kid. I was a lot older when my parents divorced. I was 20? No, 19? I can't remember. I was in university. So your Santa hat's gone. It's just, man, she's like, nope, fuck Christmas. Man, she's a Grinch. I was a lot older when my parents divorced, so it didn't really affect me as it would like kids.
Yeah.
But when I was 20 or so, yes, all of a sudden there started to be 2 separate events for, each side of the family over the holidays.
So for the overrated question, I think my answer is the same, but for different reasons. Like, I'm thinking mostly about food. So like I associate Christmas dinners with just that like traditional turkey style dinner. Maybe in America that's a little strange because you mostly think of Thanksgiving, but
What do they eat in America for Christmas?
well, I'm just
Ham?
saying no, like Thanksgiving dinner is turkey dinner.
What's Christmas dinner?
I think Christmas dinner is also turkey dinner, but like the main association between having a turkey dinner is with Thanksgiving, whereas for me it was with Christmas, I think. And I just like, I'd rather eat like Christmas pad thai or Christmas tacos.
Well, it's not Christmas.
Than turkey
It's just
and
pad
stuff.
thai or tacos.
Yeah, but there's a reason people don't eat turkey the rest of the year. It's not that good.
I love turkey breast.
I don't know.
I love turkey breast. It's a really good lean protein, man.
Okay. You got to get those gains. All right. And last question for Ben. Where do you want to go for Christmas vacation when this COVID-ish is done? Where are we going next,
Did you just
Christy?
say ish?
Yeah. Got to
Who
keep
are
it
you?
PG-13.
That's like a thing that young people
Our
say.
daughter is on my shoulder.
lying
I
on your
can't swear in front of her,
Don't tell her about Santa.
So I've already been sort of dreaming of what this could be. I may have had a conversation with some friends of ours about where a destination may be.
Where are we going, Ben? Why don't you inform me?
All of this is just pie in the sky until we're all vaccinated and,
The
things
world
are
is a safe
different, right?
place.
Like we're not going anywhere anytime soon. And I feel like the first trip will be somewhere kind of like safer and closer, maybe even within Canada.
Yeah.
But there is, sort of the beginnings of an idea that Banff was very lovely, but it was like very cold. So I think the next vacation would have to be somewhere like Fiji or Bali.
You just want to drink the water.
Yeah, yeah, I want to get the Fiji water from the source. No, I think we sort of have in mind that there is a warm destination in our future.
I'm definitely feeling the effects of the cold. I know everyone's like, well, you must be used to it. You're Canadian. But we usually, or at least I have almost every year, every winter, I'd go to Florida at some point for like a week because my grandmother would live there. She's not there currently. She's in Canada. But I'd go there and my skin would feel so much better because I have eczema and just like shitty dry skin and the winters are really hard on it. And this is the first year where I'm not going to a warm climate for a week in the middle of winter just to give my skin some relief. So, yeah, I would like, I know it sounds so annoying, but anyone with severe skin conditions knows what I mean. So if you don't have one, you're like, oh, that sounds so stupid. You just like the sun on your skin. Like, actually, no, my hands are covered in eczema and it's awful. And it is really nice to just sometimes have like a week of relief when I used to go to Florida.
Yeah. One day the world will...
So I'll agree with you that maybe warm because we've just been stuck here in Canada for longer than usual. Because normally we would have traveled a few times.
Yeah,
to normally warmer places. Because on average, places are warmer than Canada.
Yeah, even though they're like business trips per se, the fact that we haven't been to like the Holo Taco Warehouse or we haven't been to LA to see our LA friends and... Yeah, it's been a pretty isolating year in a lot of ways, and I'm sure a lot of people are feeling that.
For sure, yeah.
Well, apologies to GB ASMR. She was going to come on and whisper Christmas carols to
You have
us
to say,
very
I'm
quietly.
so sorry you couldn't make it.
We were going to flutter. We were going to talk about Christmas. But thank you for tuning in.
But next week, we think we're going to do
What are we doing next week?
a year end of sorts, a Simply year end.
We're not taking the week off. I don't get Christmas off, Simply.
No. We don't have any holiday events to go to.
That's
we don't
true,
have any
yeah.
family events.
We got nothing but time.
We just have the pod fam.
I've been enjoying this too. Yeah, I think so. We're probably going to do an episode next week of.
Yeah, so we're thinking some kind of year end, maybe year end lists, or if you guys have any ideas of a format that you like, maybe you've seen, or just an idea, let us know in the YouTube comments.
Some of our favorite things from the past year, some of our least favorite things
Top
from the
10
past
lists,
year. Yeah,
top 10 moments,
something like that.
New Year's resolutions, or is that lame? It's kind of lame.
Yeah, it's pretty lame.
Everyone hates those. I hate those.
All right, everyone. Merry Christmas without the H. Thank you for tuning in.
And happy holidays with whatever you celebrate.
Yeah.
And even if you can't get together with all of your family, I hope that there's still a way to communicate with your friends and family. You can do Zoom Christmas. I think we're probably going to end up doing that with my family, by the way, Ben, just so you're aware.
Okay.
So you can always stay in contact with your loved ones and friends. So it's good to remember that, right? So it's not all about staying in your room away from people and never talking to anyone.
This
you
can be
you
a
can
very
still connect with people.
Yeah, this can be a very isolating time of year. I think it's important to reach out to your friends and loved one and just make sure they're doing okay.
Yep. Check in on your friends and family for sure, and reach out if you want to talk to your friends and family too. So it works both ways.
All right. Here's your reminder. It's Tuesday.
It is Taco Tuesday.
Thank you for tuning in.
Christmas is in a few days, and I hope you're done Christmas shopping.
All right, everybody.
Thanks so much for watching. We'll see y'all later. Bye. Bye.